Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our virtual town hall panel. I want to remind everyone that this panel is being sponsored by the City of Steamboat Springs and Routt County in partnership with the Steamboat Pilot and Today. My name is Lisa, and I'm the editor of the newspaper, and I'll be moderating. Today's panel focuses on faith in the time of COVID-19. And we know that during times of uncertainty, times of trouble, many people find solace in their faith, in their congregation, in their higher power. So what we're doing today is we have invited several members of our faith community here in Steamboat Springs to talk to us about how they are connecting with their congregation and the community at this time and providing hope and healing. So let me begin by introducing our panelists, and then we'll dive into the questions. So if the panelists would just kind of wave when I introduce you so everyone gets to know your face. So first of all, we have Father Ernest Baer from the Holy Name Catholic Church. We have Tim Selby from the Heart of Steamboat United Methodist Church, Troy Lewis of the Steamboat Christian Center, and Joella West of, and I know I should have asked how to, Mishpacha, the Jewish community of Steamboat, and I will give her an opportunity to say that correctly for us, because I'm sure I really messed that up. So we'll just begin by giving you guys an opportunity to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your church or your congregation to our audience. So first of all, Joella, we'll start with you.
Lisa, you were so close. It's Mishpacha. You were there. You just don't get the ha. It comes with the territory. I am Joella, and if the bottom of your screen says that I am Larry, that's actually not true. I am on Larry's computer. I am the president of Mishpacha, the Jewish congregation of Steamboat Springs. Essentially, that makes me the lay leader of the group. We have a rabbi, but he visits.
Perfect. Thank you. Next, Tim, introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. Thanks for having us today. Great to be with you and all my colleagues here. I'm from the pastor of the Heart of Steamboat United Methodist Church, one of our downtown churches on Oak Street with Holy Name and St. Paul's down here. And so great to be with you today. And we have a good connection of all of our spiritual communities, I think, in Steamboat Springs. So it's always great to work together and do the best we can. Good to see my friends here this morning.
Thank you, Tim. Troy, it's your turn.
Yeah, my name is Troy Lewis. I'm the pastor out at the Steamboat Christian Center, the log church that's on the south side of town. I've been there probably about, going on 15 years, I think. I was born in Steamboat, but raised in Craig. I don't tell everybody that, but it was a blessing to come back home and to be here in Northwest Colorado, and got a fun church, and I love the spiritual community. Our pastors, as Tim said, we get together on a monthly basis and encourage one another and share, look for ways that we can come together. And boy, right now, this is a pretty important time for us to do that. So thank you, Lisa, and to the city for allowing us to kind of talk a little bit about these things.
Thank you, Troy. Ernest, it's your turn.
Yes, I'm Ernest Baer. I'm the pastor at Holy Name here in Steamboat on Oak Street, and also St. Martin of Tours. We have a small little church down in Oak Creek. So we kind of represent a little bit of South Routt, just about 30 families down there. And I've been here about 15 years and love this community. And I've never had a trial like this since I've been ordained. It's been a real challenging thing for us, but I'm learning a lot about technology these days.
Thank you. Aren't we all? Yes. So let's dive right into questions. And Tim, we'll let you start on this one. So the stay-at-home order obviously has meant that individuals and families are isolating. And so could you tell us about your own experience in isolation, so to speak, and how you're handling it?
Sure, yeah. So our family, my wife Kristen and I, are at home. Our son Brennan is with us now. He's 22, just graduated from college, and was back here working at the high school a little bit. But so it's the three of us. So I feel a little thankful that there is three of us, there. So we have some community among us and have a little fun together and those kind of things. So I'm thankful for that, and thankful to be in a place where in a beautiful place where we can get outside and enjoy the fresh air a little bit and all that kind of thing. So despite what's going on, I feel pretty thankful that we have the kind of opportunities that we do, and so we're doing pretty well. I really worry about people that might be just alone, single people that are alone and don't have any built-in community in their home. So we're riding it out pretty well. Blessed to be in our situation, but have in mind those who may feel more isolated than we do right now.
Thank you, Tim. Troy, how about you?
Yeah, I'm with Tim on that. I'm pretty grateful for our specific situation. My wife and I, we have two kids, a freshman in high school and a third grader, and that's been kind of a mixed blessing. We've been able to spend some really great quality time with one another, but they're wanting to get out, they're wanting to see their friends, and school has been a real challenge. And I just want to tip my hat to all the educators and the teachers, because this has been incredibly hard for them on a transition, and they work hard, and I'm just really grateful for their help and trying to help our kids stay on somewhat of a track during this time. So I think it's a lot of family, and it's been fun to be able to do some things as a family, and time has kind of slowed way down for us. But the other side of it is the school and keeping them moving forward, and that's been kind of interesting. So
Thank you, Troy. Father Ernest.
Yeah, I live alone in the rectory here by the church, so it's been I'm kind of used to being alone, but I'm also used to being able to get out and meet people and be with people, and so that's been a huge change for me. We still are doing a daily service that we're live streaming, but it's very, very strange to look out and not see anybody. I'm sure the other guys relate to that. But I do have my sister and brother-in-law living in town. They moved here a couple years ago, and then my parents followed them. So I do have my parents nearby as well, and they're in their 80s. And so I have found that I suddenly have more time to take them out for a walk. So I've been sort of reaching out to them a little bit more, getting them out of their little apartment and going for some walks around Old Town, and just kind of slowing down and trying to enjoy the people that are in my life right now. And it's definitely been challenging, but it's been difficult, I must say, for me. I've been a little sad about the whole thing. I'm missing the people a lot.
Thank you, Ernest, for sharing. Joella, how about you?
There we go. It's challenging in ways that are no different from anybody else, but it's also challenging in a couple of very strange ways that I never thought I would face. Larry and I live alone in a house that honestly has always been too big for us, except now it's suddenly just the right size. Our neighbors came up the street very early in the stay at home, and I saw one of them talking to Larry. I said to Larry, what did he want? Larry said, well, he came up to offer us help. Why do we need help? Larry said, well, because we're old and we can't go out, and we're the oldest people on this block, and they're trying to look after us. So that was a very sweet and unexpected lesson. My son and daughter-in-law came up and said, you guys can't go out. We will take care of you. And the first time that your children tell you that they are going to take care of you, you don't know whether to feel old and irritated or very, very grateful that this new thing is in existence. Probably the saddest part for me is that I have been going into Casey's Pond one morning a week for, I think it's 7 or 8 years. And I can't go in now and have not been there since the beginning of March. It's breaking my heart, and there is absolutely nothing that I can do to touch that kind of loneliness.
Thank you, Joella. Troy, we'll send this next question to you first. What type of virtual programming are you offering during COVID-19, and how can people access that programming, and what's the response been?
You know, we met this week with other pastors in the community, and I'm really proud of how all the churches, even though, you know, many of us pastors are not very technology driven and capable, we've been able to transition to online services, and there's been some really cool blessings in that, I guess. You know, I don't think any of us went to seminary to become a televangelist, but so it's uncomfortable speaking to empty rooms and not having, you know, people to engage with. But it's been an interesting thing. We've just basically shifted over our services that we were having before, a Saturday night service, 2 on Sunday morning, and then we have a Spanish experience at 6 o'clock on Sunday night. And so we just shifted those over. The response has been fascinating. We probably average on the weekend maybe 600 to 800 people, depending on what's going on, you know, in person. And we've been watching the numbers, and it's, you know, upwards of 1,800 to 2,000 people that are attending online. And you know, I think there's probably 2 reasons for that. Number one, you know, when you invite people to go to church from the comfort of their living room, you know, more people are more apt to do that. I don't know why we didn't come up with this a long time ago. But the second thing I think is that there's a lot of folks that are looking for hope right now and looking for answers, and want to be encouraged. There's a lot of bad news out there, and so to be able to hear some good news and find that and be able to give that out in an easy way to a lot of people, it's just been fascinating to watch how the church and our church is having to transition to this. And but it's been again a mixed bag, but some really cool things that are happening with that.
Great. Thank you, Troy. Next, Ernest, how about you all?
Yeah, we transitioned to live streaming for our masses. Thankfully, we were already set up for it. We already had done some of that just periodically, but so we were ready. Well, we needed to do a couple things, but anyway, we started doing the Sunday service at 8:30 in the morning, and it's live, but then it's uploaded to the YouTube so you can watch it later if that's not a good time for you. And also we're doing weekday masses at 7:30 in the morning, Monday through Friday. That's the same deal. You can watch it live, or you can, a lot of people are waking up to it and just, I don't know, they're sitting there in their pajamas or having breakfast or whatever, but they're making it their morning prayer. And we added a Spanish Mass. I had not done the Spanish Mass since we were shut down, but we added that just last Sunday. So now when we're doing it 10:30 in the morning now. And so you can access that through our website. That's catholicsteamboat.org is the website. And there's a thing right at the front page to link on to the live streaming stuff or the recorded liturgies that we've done. One of the more interesting creative things that we came up with was we did a Station of the Cross on Good Friday, which involved like 11 different people sending in a monologue that they pre-recorded on their own in their own place. And then we kind of stitched those all together. And I was in the church with 2 musicians, and we pulled that together, and people just loved it because they got to see each other, and it was very contemporary, and they were sending that all over the place. So it's kind of amazing that all of a sudden, all of us who are doing this sort of thing suddenly have a worldwide congregation because people just send it wherever. And we had people zooming into the Spanish Mass from Mexico. And, you know, the nature of Steamboat, we have so many visitors that come here. They know about our churches and they like to connect. And so we have people connecting from way outside of our community now. And it's kind of amazing. That's the hidden blessing in this all. It's not so hidden anymore, but that's part of the blessing of it. We're reaching more people than we have in the past, just virtually.
Thank you. Joella, how about the Jewish congregation?
We're a little different than the other congregations in town because we have our visiting rabbis. So we, for many years, have done a rabbi weekend, and we do those once a month. We tend to not be terribly active between those. But now we have gone online like everybody else. We are running a social hour on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. We are running a Thursday Torah study, which replaces the Thursday prayer session that we've had for a couple of years. And both of those are on Zoom. We also have, we've sort of piggybacked on. Our rabbi is the husband of the rabbi of the Aspen congregation, and they live over in Basalt. So we are piggybacking onto some of the online activities of the Aspen congregation. We have a Friday sing-along, which I have not heard yet, and I can't guarantee what exactly will be sung. It may just be camp songs. But that is followed by the Friday evening Shabbat service, and that is live streamed from the rabbi's Siegel living room, sometimes interrupted by dogs, but not very often by small children. And there's also a Havdalah, which is the closing prayer for the Shabbat, and that is on Saturdays at 8 p.m. All of those things that are associated with the Aspen congregation are accessible either on the Aspen Jewish Congregation Facebook page or on their website. And if anybody wants information about how to get onto any of these things, just send an inquiry to info@harmishpacha.com.
Thank you, Joella. Father Ernest, this next question will start with you. What other, in addition to virtual masses, what other services and support are you providing? And are these open to the community at large or just members?
Yeah, I forgot to mention, you know, we're surprised by the youth ministry element here. We have sort of a paradigm shift with regard to this. You know, usually in youth ministry, we think of big programs, gathering a bunch of kids, having fun, playing games, praying together, doing stuff like that. It's kind of like security in numbers. But now we have some small groups that are meeting through Zoom. But we're finding that much more effective right now is one-on-one telephone conversations with kids. They're much more able to open up to the youth minister to share their concerns because they're not worried about peer pressure, and they're sharing what's going on, and they're praying together. And it's really been amazing. Our youth ministers are saying it's some of the best ministry they've ever done because it's all just one-on-one, and kids are opening up and sharing their struggles. And so we've got a team of 3, and they've been calling all the kids and staying in touch with them. And that's been much more personal and helpful for them. And, you know, it's not even so much religious stuff, but just helping them with whatever they're struggling with right now. We're also doing classes, Zoom classes with our religious ed class. And surprisingly, even preschool, even those preschool kids do gather around for a little bit in front of a screen and sort of enjoy that, you know, at an age appropriate level. So we've been doing some of that too. I would say those things are pretty much targeted at our own congregation. We do have a number of small groups that we just launched right before this happened, and they're still meeting either through phone calls or Zoom or Skype. But we haven't really been doing anything open to the public other than typical charity stuff. Now and then, you know, we get inquiries about if we can help people with rent or food or, you know, that sort of gas, you know, car stuff. And so we still are doing some charity work, but we're not really doing anything for the larger community at this point. We haven't gone to that level yet. So thanks for, you know, dropping that seed. We probably need to figure that one out. So thanks.
Thank you, Father Ernest. Joella, are there other services and support you all are providing?
We don't have anything organized at this moment. Our members have been donating to Lift Up, which is the organization that we have always backed in this town. and they have gone and made additional donations to that. We have, our rabbi is available on email, and it's very easy, steamboatrabbi@gmail. That's an easy one. If anybody needs to reach out, it's always possible to do it that way. The other thing that I neglected to mention is that our religious school has also gone online, so our 2 classes are meeting on Zoom as well.
Great, thank you. Tim, how about the Methodist Church?
Yeah, like everybody, we kind of shifted a lot of our meetings and things, a lot of Zoom meetings and connections, and this kind of format that we're doing now. I would kind of throw in though that in terms of Troy's comment earlier, as we all see like a lot more viewership with our online services and those kind of things. I think one dynamic about that can be that it can be really hard if you're not a church person or a part of a congregation. It can be really hard to walk in the door of a church on a Sunday morning and wonder, are people going to judge me? Do I wear the right clothes? And all those kind of things. So much easier to log in online and to kind of explore a little bit that way. We all work really hard to try and make all of our congregations welcoming and so people can come in, but it can be a pretty tough thing to do. And so as those people click online or come in through that kind of medium, I think one of the things we're trying to do is figure out, well, okay, viewership is one thing, but how do we get engaged with those people? How do we find some kind of engagement or open up opportunities to connect, to meet people? That's an interesting thing in this world. How do you meet people? How do you make a new friend? How do you do any of those kind of things? So we're in the process of trying to work with that in terms of what it means to engage with people in this format as well. And so has some things in the works a little bit with that, but we haven't really kind of figured that out yet. Hopefully we have good connection with the people who are a part of our church, but to extend to those outside of it, I think we really want to work on how do we do that and how do we engage with people.
Thank you. Troy, how about Steamboat Christian Center? What other services and support are you providing, and is that open to people outside of just the congregation?
Yeah, I think, obviously, our hearts are to help people spiritually, if we can connect them to their creator, a lot of answers could follow, a lot of good things could happen from that. But I think tangibly where people are right now, it's just financial. A lot of folks have lost their jobs unexpectedly and live kind of without a lot of margin in their life. And so I think, financial help has probably been one of the big focuses that we've been trying to do. We have a group of people that are, immigrants who have no safety net. And man, in the last few weeks here, I've had a lot of requests for help, and I'm super grateful that we're able to do that. And so we're providing financial help. In fact, at the beginning of this year in January, we were having a meeting with our church and just saying, hey, last year was a great year, and we were able to stock away, and save some money. And we were like, why have we been blessed? What's this about? And we kind of threw the line out there, well, maybe God has something for us this next year, this opportunity that we'll help people with. And then 3 months later, here we are. And so we are making that offer to people, anybody who needs help with rent, and Lift Up is doing a lot, and there's kind of limits to what they're able to do to spread that out. So, and I spoke to all the churches the other day, and they all said the same thing, that they're available, they're willing to help anyone, whether you go to that church or not, that they want to be a source of help and meet some needs, rent, car payment, utilities, whatever will help bridge the gap in the meantime. I think 2 other things that, because of the financial thing, obviously, helping people with finances and navigate it in this time. And so Scott Ford, who is kind of a local economist, him, he's offered to do a little seminar on budgeting in a crisis. And so he's going to do a little seminar and offer financial counseling to people. He just comes in, doesn't judge, and just comes alongside and coaches you if you're needing help to navigate what should be paid, what can't be paid. And then we came across another thing. I read a statistic recently that 1 out of 5 marriages right now are in trouble because of this crisis. I think that number is going to increase dramatically, obviously, as financial strain goes. And so we found a webinar on marriage called The Comedy of Love. And this next Saturday on May 2nd, from 9 to 1. It's a fun, engaging 4-hour seminar on marriage, and I think a lot of laughter, but also some real good tips for couples that just want to kind of tune things up or to kind of navigate what's going on right now. And it's $40, but our church would underwrite that cost if that's a challenge for you. And so if you're interested in any of those and need help, I encourage you to go to steamboat.church/help, and we'll get you the information and help in any way we can.
Thank you, Troy. It's fantastic. Another question is, so we recently celebrated Easter and Passover, some kind of big church holidays, I guess you would call them, observances. And so how was your congregation able to celebrate those special times while apart? So Joella, how can you give us some insight into that?
It was it was a challenge. Passover is a big holiday for Jews across the world. Mostly it's a home holiday, and its importance is for the family to gather together at the table, and there are prayers and there are conversations and there are remembrances, and every family has the special foods that they eat together, the ones that they love and the ones that they complain about and the ones that their mother made better. All of that went away in the blink of an eye this year. On top of that, what we have done in Steamboat for many years is to do a community Seder, which is on the second night of the holiday. And we were booked and ready to go on that. And again, blink your eye and it goes away. So we did the only thing that we could do, which was to send out resources to people for where to go online to see suggestions. And there have been wonderful, wonderful things online. We're all learning that there are real advantages to being online. Everything from people teaching other people how to make recipes for Passover. There were a couple of absolutely marvelous online Seders. One was produced by City Winery in New York, and that was online a couple of nights before Passover. And a few nights later, there was one called Saturday Night Seder, which I believe was associated with Saturday Night Live, but I never finished the research. And that was priceless. It took some of the sting away from not having the big family table. And I think that what we did in our house and what many members of this congregation did in their own homes was to take the service and the meal onto Zoom. So we had something we never could have done before. We had all of our grandchildren, and they're all across the country. We had our children, we had friends who've been at our table in Los Angeles and wherever for many years, all at the table. It doesn't feel the same, but it worked. And I believe that worked for a lot of people.
Thank you, Joella. Tim, how about you?
Yeah, it was definitely a strange Easter, that's for sure. And, we did some things, we had some activities for families and kids and some of those kind of things going on. And then we had put together what we called a virtual parade of hope, where we invited people in creative ways in their homes or wherever they are to write that word hope, and sent those all in and put them to some music. And that was kind of a fun, uplifting kind of piece. And so, and did, the online service in that morning. But, Easter Sunday afternoon and evening, I was just kind of sad, it's such a great celebration. It's about gathering together and celebrating, and we weren't together, and it didn't feel very celebratory. And I was just kind of bummed and sad in that. And I think that's important too, that, as people of faith, we live from a place of strength and courage and hope. That's our ground. That's where we live from. but that doesn't mean we don't get sad. And so I think encouraging people, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to cry, to be bummed out, to be grumpy sometimes. That doesn't overtake us, and we don't live from that place. But that's a part of our story. And I think if we don't express our emotions and allow those to be what they are, that won't be very healthy for us either. So and a little bit of celebration and a little bit of sadness all mixed together on Easter. I hope we don't have another one like that, but we make it through as best we can, right?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Troy, how did you all, how did your congregation celebrate Easter?
Yeah, I think very similar. We went to online services and did the best we could. We in years past have done an egg hunt for our community, and clearly that wasn't appropriate this year. We bought all the bikes, so we still have them all stacked up, and I don't know, maybe we'll do a Christmas in July or something like that, and just when people can get out and go. I think though, I go with Tim on it was a bittersweet, weird thing. I think one of the highlights for me, though, one of the things that I've been able to kind of reconcile in my heart is that I think for years the Christian church has depended on the building, and that's kind of the pinnacle of our spiritual experience during the week. And maybe this season allows us, and we've been challenging our people to think about what they can do in their home and get back to our roots, our Jewish roots of having this community around the table, and letting the dad or the mom lead the family and to guide them and have that spiritual experience at home, having communion. We've had communion at home, and people have used different elements. I don't want to offend any of my my friends here, but they had to use what they had to use, and so someone had Powerade as the just whatever. But the idea was to connect at home, and I think there's something good for people to bring their faith out of the building and out of office Sundays, and let it work in Monday and Tuesday and through the rest of the week. And so maybe that'll be a blessing in the long run, that people will feel more engaged throughout the week through that. But yeah.
Thank you, Troy. Father Ernest, you mentioned the Stations of the Cross. How else did your congregation celebrate Easter?
Well, just right before that, on Thursday, we usually have a ceremony where we remember that Jesus washed the feet of his disciples. And so, we had a live stream liturgy in the church, but I invited everyone. I couldn't see it, but I said, wherever you are, with whoever you are, go ahead and spend some time now washing each other's feet, and I trust that they did that. I didn't even hear from them about that, but we had some music, so they could do that at home. And then we had the Good Friday thing where they could send in the videos of their monologue, and we sent that out. And that went really well. For Easter Vigil, we normally have lots of readers because we have a whole bunch of readings that evening. And so we just limited it. We had the music ministers were actually doing all the readings because we didn't want to have like more than 5 people in the church. So that was not as great, but we put more pictures into the live stream. We just got great works of art from the tradition and put those pictures in of, Jesus washing the feet, Jesus, carrying his cross, and creation during the reading of Genesis 1, the creation. We had pictures of that. Just we kind of wove that into the video. And then at Easter, usually we ask our people to renew their baptismal promises, and I would go around and sprinkle the whole assembly with water, holy water, and tell them to renew their baptism. And so I asked them to do that at home. Just if they probably had fun sprinkling themselves with water, I don't know, but we tried to get them involved. I think one of the challenges for us within the Catholic tradition, people place a great amount of value on receiving the Eucharist, receiving communion. And so I've been talking more about receive the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is with you right where you are, or spend more time with the Word of God, praying with the Word, and focusing on that to try to get them to realize that there's so much more to our faith than just coming and receiving communion, which lots of Catholics said that becomes their big focus for Sunday. So I've been trying to challenge them to God is everywhere, Holy Spirit's everywhere. You can welcome the Spirit anywhere. Just spend some time in prayer. And like Troy was saying, trying to challenge our folks to develop that domestic church and pray where you are with your family or with your friends, whoever you're living with, not to be so dependent upon the pastor. it's challenging for our folks. So.
Thank you. Next question, Troy, we'll start with you. We know, and you guys have touched upon it, but people are struggling during this time. They're hurting. And so what advice or comfort could you offer people who, really are, don't know what tomorrow holds?
Yeah. We have a choice right now. We're in a storm, and it's I don't know when this is going to end. I don't know how it's going to end, but I do know it will end at some point. And I'm mindful in my own life that I'm trying to focus less on the power and the strength and the force of this storm, and more on the power and the strength and the force of my Savior, of my God. I can put my trust in the storm, or I can put my trust in Him. And so that's a minute by minute thing. And so I want to manage my feelings. I want to manage my emotions. I try to, when I start to worry, I want to click over and stop that and to pray, to say just a quick prayer. It doesn't have to be a long one, but just keeping and being mindful of that has been able to help me, kind of stabilize and to keep my emotions in check. I think the panic is one thing. The virus is a real thing as well, but I can manage kind of the panic in my own heart right now. And that's what I think I've been trying to encourage our folks to do. I think the other thing that I would say to people out there is reach out for help. I think a lot of us, we live in Northwest Colorado, we're mountain people, and we can make it and we push through. And I think this isn't a time for that. If you're hurting and you're in need, wait until the last minute to ask for help. Is just, why carry that burden? There's a lot of people that are wanting to help and are capable. Our town is so benevolent, and to whom much has been given, much is expected. And I've just seen people left and right wanting to help. And but if you won't ask, you just end up carrying that burden by yourself, and it's incredibly sad. And I think you do more damage. And so, anyway, don't be shy. Let people know. If you need someone to talk to, reach out. If you need a tangible thing, reach out. Someone has the answer and would love to be your miracle. So I just really want to encourage people to, in a moment-to-moment basis, stay connected. And I think secondly, be willing to ask for help, and it will come.
Thank you. Ernest, how about you? What advice would you have for people who are struggling right now?
Yeah, as I said before, spending some more time maybe with the Bible, with the Word of God, or with a spiritual reading of your choice. Take some time to rest in it. And, and instead of maybe, we're all praying for the end of this thing, but we could also pray for harmony with it, to kind of go along with it, to embrace it, to accept it, and to submit to the transformation that it's calling forth from us. I feel like I'm kind of stripped down. All the externals that I used to do and focus on have been stripped away. And so I'm sort of forced to see, what do I have left on the inside? And that's God. And so to develop that relationship with God and find peace in that, and trusting that God is with me, and like a shepherd, Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, leading me, holding me, guiding me, carrying me through the valley of the shadows of death, to just trust in God's guidance. But like Troy said, we find that through one another as well. So to reach out for help, call people. I find that a lot of people are just calling each other, Zooming with each other, going for walks together, exercising together, just kind of connecting in some way. Last night I did something really unusual. I sent an email out and said, I'm tired of eating alone. Join me for dinner at 6. Here's the Zoom link. And 25 people joined. It was kind of fun, just like reach out, be vulnerable. And we all kind of want to see each other and talk, and so, yeah, I agree with Troy on that. But, there's also the image of the boat in the storm, in one of our gospels in Matthew, I think it is, where Jesus is asleep in the back of the boat, and the boat's going through this horrible storm, and the apostles are all upset, and they wake him up, and then he says, he calms the storm. He says, why were you afraid? Like, I'm with you. So that sort of sense of God is with us in this storm. Let's just trust He's taken us to a new shoreline, to trust that we're going to be better when we come out of this. So we need to submit to the growing process, and sometimes that's painful. But we believe, like Tim was saying, hope, people of hope, something good is going to come out of all this, and we're looking to be part of that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Joella, what advice would you have for people who are struggling?
Just as we borrow space from Heart of Steamboat, I'm going to borrow something that I heard yesterday on a United Methodist Women webinar. And it's a quote that I'm going to keep in front of my eyes, I think, until this is over. And the quote is, "Remember, we are separated, but not separate. We are all the same. We are all one." A very hard lesson for me is to reach out for help. It's very, very difficult, but it's very important. It's a learning experience, and a phrase that I hate more than almost anything, but it's true. This is a teachable moment. It's a moment for all of us to teach ourselves, to learn how to reach out and offer help, to learn how to reach out and ask for help, and to learn how to accept help. And as Troy said, this is a community. It's a mountain community. That's not, our nature is to reach out and offer help, but our nature is definitely not to ask for it. And I hope that people err on the side of asking for help when they otherwise wouldn't do it. It's available with a phone call to anybody in our congregation. It's available with an email to steamboatrabbi@gmail. It's here.
Thank you, Joella. Tim, what advice do you offer to people who are struggling?
Well, I would sort of second all of that and maybe add a couple of quick things. One is that in what we call the Lord's Prayer, a prayer that Jesus modeled, there's a line that says, "Give us this day our daily bread." It's a very simple prayer for this day. I think one thing that helps me is I can get maybe anxious or stressed when I start thinking what if and too far down the future, too far down the line. But so I try to just stay with this day. Give me this day my daily bread. How can I live today? How can I put some love in the world today? How can I find some joy? How can I bless somebody somehow this day and not worry too much about tomorrow? Because I don't know what tomorrow looks like right now. And the second would be just reframing, and the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu have a great book called The Book of Joy. And one of the things they talk about in terms of living a joyful life is the ability to do some reframing in terms of our current, whatever circumstance that you're in. So I can spend a lot of time wishing I had my old life back. And I do that a good chunk of the time as well. But to reframe, not to worry too much about that, but to focus on, okay, well, this is the situation now. And in this situation, how do I live in a deep and meaningful way? How do I find joy? How do I find ways to share kindness and goodness in the world? And instead of wanting my situation to be different, find out how I can find the best in the circumstance that I'm in and try and do that the best we can.
Thank you. Such good stuff. Thank you guys for sharing. Ernest, we'll go to you with this one. And you guys have touched upon this, but maybe offer a little more insight to our audience. Is it possible to maintain connections and create community during this time? And if so, what are some things that you think people could do if they're feeling lonely and need those connections?
Yeah, one thing I've encouraged people to call me if they want to talk, just my own congregation. I even set up something through Calendly where they could go and schedule a time with me if they can't get a hold of me. But, I encourage people to call if they want to talk. Yesterday, I had a guy just want to go for a walk with me, so we just went for a long walk. Yeah, all these Zoom meetings. I probably will do a few more of these dinners because it was pretty successful, as long as Zoom can handle it. People just wanted to connect briefly, and I think families are, they're sort of quarantined and they're looking for something new or different or stimulating. So whatever we are able to offer, I think something different. Let's turn this on, and so I think people are receptive to plugging in. Um, yeah, how to stay connected. I don't know what else to say. I'm sort of tired of looking at screens, but it seems to be the new normal. But I'd rather talk to somebody live, well, on the screen or on a phone call, or even just to meet and go for a walk and stay 6 feet apart, and or go for a bike ride or something like that. Yeah, I don't really actually have anything else to say right now about that. Sorry.
No, thank you.
Okay.
That's good.
Mhm.
Thank you. Joella, how would you suggest people kind of maintain those connections?
I think that if we set ourselves goals, and it helps to keep busy, a phone call out, how many phone calls a day out can you make? And if you do that, will others call you? The telephone that most of us have just kind of gotten out of the habit of using, oh, I'll text, I'll drop an email. Suddenly the telephone becomes really important in the old-fashioned way, to hear somebody's voice and to have a conversation that doesn't have to be reduced to writing. It changes the nature of a conversation. So if we can set ourselves a task, each of us, to say, okay, today, I don't know, I'll call a couple of people. I'll call my daughter, and I'll call a member of the congregation, or someone else that I haven't seen in a few years. How are you doing? I know you haven't been well. And with any luck, some of those calls will also come in.
Thank you, Joella. Let's see, Tim, what would you suggest as far as keeping those connections going during this time?
Yeah, just following up on what Joella just said there. We've kind of encouraged our people to call 2 people a day outside of your maybe typical circle. You don't want to call a bunch because it gets, it's overwhelming. It's too much to do. But 2 people a day, and to maybe think about, well, who might need a call, who might be alone, who might I check in with. We have lists of people that folks in our church are calling, trying to check up on everybody, but just in that general sense of like, just in your own life, just check up on a couple of people each day. That can be really simple but really powerful at the same time. And then to Ernest's point on meals, we have a Friday morning men's breakfast group, and all those things we keep doing, and we get our food, and we're just online there. And one of the things I love about that is, so I was like pretty excited about the NFL draft, because it was something that is not was an actual event that was happening, and I'm pretty into football. So this morning we spent a while just talking about football and this guy and that guy, and gosh, that's to me is so important. I've had a few meetings and get-togethers where I've kind of made the rule like there can be no coronavirus conversation for this hour, just in order to just talk about other things, get your mind on some other things. And so that's been really important for me. So tonight I'm going to be watching some more NFL drafts. So if anybody wants to talk football, give me a call.
That's great. Yeah, sometimes we just need that normal stuff right now. Troy, how about you? What advice would you give for people to stay connected?
I don't have much to add to that. That was great. Joella, I made a goal, and I have challenged people to just go through their phone book and on their phone and make 2 or 3 calls a day. I've had some weird groups that I meet with. I had a small group that we played pickleball with, and we decided to just do the Zoom. And what's been interesting is been able to connect with them in a way that obviously we wouldn't be able to on a pickleball court, and make some friendships and pray for one another. I think the draft, boy, that was fun to be able to have some sports and a distraction for a little bit. So all those are absolutely brilliant. I think the thing I would say to someone who is feeling lonely, you reap what you sow. And if you would perhaps take that loneliness and let it motivate you to reach out to somebody and be a friend to someone else, you might, sometimes it just opens a floodgate of friendship and love and care coming back to you. So, if you don't have a friend, be a friend. And I know that's cliche, but it's something positive that you can do with a negative feeling. And so I'm just happy to hear that everybody, we're putting our texts away a little bit, and we're starting to call and talk and have conversations with one another, and that's a good thing. So yeah.
Thank you. And I would add, I got a beautiful letter from someone a couple of days ago, and it was 2 pages of someone just sharing their heart. And it actually happened to be the wife of a former pastor of ours from 20 years ago. And it was just a gift. And I have it on my desk. And so, sometimes that old-fashioned pen on paper is pretty awesome as well. So, okay, next question. I would assume all of you believe in miracles and blessings. And so I would love if you all would share maybe some of those blessings or miracles that you've seen during this time. Joella, let's start with you.
Miracles are way above my pay grade. So blessings, on the other hand, I think that's pretty special. But to me, very often the great blessings are the ones that you don't expect. Blessings generally don't arrive in a box that's labeled "open immediately, blessing inside." And you open, you say, "Oh, this is what I ordered." Blessings there's a huge surprise element in blessings. And sometimes you see it and you say, well, shame on me for not having noticed that. Shame on me for not having noticed that if I sit quietly at the dining room table long enough, I'm going to see all these wonderful birds because they're here and it's mating season. That's a blessing to me. And there are a lot of those kinds of things. We keep being told that we all need to slow down and take a breath. This is a theme of modern life. And now we're in a position where we have to slow down. And it's a really good idea to take that breath. And it's a perfect opportunity to look around. And maybe you're not a bird watcher, but there's something else there that is waiting for you to look at it, to listen to it, and now you have the opportunity to do it. So there are many different kinds of blessings. We talk about communicating with people. I heard from 2 cousins this month that I haven't spoken to in years, who reached out just to say, "Hey, hope this address still reaches you. How are you doing? And here's what the family is doing." And that's a blessing too.
Thank you, Joella. Tim, how about you?
Yeah, I think, one of the real blessings has been just what people are doing for other people on behalf of other folks, so, folks in the healthcare community who are doing so much and working so hard. It's a blessing, and so thankful for their work and what they do. And that extends to other folks who are doing simple things. I kind of go to the grocery store every day because I can't think about tomorrow today. But lately I've been going to the store and I get this big cart full of food, because I don't want to go there very often. And but at the same time, there's folks who are working there, making that happen all day long. Really thankful for all those people who are keeping a lot of things going in difficult circumstances. Those things, I think those things are real blessings, and real thankful for the way people are able to do that. Also, just the way people, the churches are here to help people out in different ways, and people have, obviously in a difficult financial time, people have stepped up to support our church. I know other churches and Lift Up and community organizations. So even when finances get tougher, people step up and really share and give and contribute to the greater good for everybody. And so in the midst of difficulty, you see a lot of character revealed, and there's a lot of amazing character in our world, in our community, and you kind of see that all the time right now.
Thank you. Troy, how about you? What miracles or blessings have you seen during this time?
Yeah, I think Joella, it's hard to know the difference sometimes between a miracle and a blessing. I'm seeing God, do some cool things. I mean, it's in crisis like this in my life. When I look back at when I was in a difficult situation, that I often saw God in a new way that I didn't see him before, or I felt him, or I sensed that he was doing something. And so I think that if we do slow down and look and allow gratitude to kind of lead the way, we will see that there are a lot of amazing things. I mean, none of us here are hooked to a machine right now, and we're breathing and we're healthy. And I don't know what God has done behind the scenes to protect me from that. I don't know, or how that's worked, but I'm grateful for it. And I see little other people are telling me they're having miracles, getting a job in the midst of this economy right now. Someone has told me that, and they're thrilled, and getting a 10-speed because they didn't have a car, little things like that. I think what Tim said, people being super generous. I love what the Snowball is doing and how they're making meals. I mean, hundreds of people, and how cool. What a great thing that people are being so generous to give to that. I had folks in the last week who started receiving their stimulus checks, and I had several people come in and say, we are fortunate. This is not a need for us right now. How can we turn this into help for people in our community, and been able to point them to Lift Up or to the benevolence and help others. And so I love that. I'm astounded by that. To me, that's incredible, because this had the opportunity to turn really weird. People could have been very selfish and inwardly focused because of the amount of fear. And I've seen kind of the opposite, and that's a miracle. That's a sign that God is here, because that's not typical of human beings in some ways. I think our nature is to run and hide, and here we are helping one another. So that astounds me, I think.
Thank you, Troy. Ernest, how about you? What blessings and miracles have you seen?
I would echo what the others have been saying about unexpected gifts, like financial donations. People are sending things in. People who are able are just sending gifts. They say, I'm sure you must need it now. Here's a little something we weren't really expecting. So that's been kind of miraculous. And even just for myself personally, I'm finding a little more time to pray and getting, because my weekend is a lot easier than it used to be. So I'm having a little more time to pray and get more personal with the Lord. And this whole thing is just for me personally, kind of broken my heart a little bit. And when that happens, I'm more receptive to God, to God's Spirit, what God might be saying, and even if it's beyond words, it's just, I feel like I'm going a little deeper spiritually. I think maybe a lot of people are during this time. And so maybe when everything else is stripped away, we get back to the bare essentials of our faith and our family and our friends and love of our community and supporting one another, just get back to the basics. And so I think, yeah, like Troy said, it had a potential of turning weird, but I think it's basically been turning people to be more charitable, more loving, more caring for one another, more sensitive of one another, and more appreciative of community and friendship and family. So I think that's kind of a miracle. And getting our attention, in a way, we all know we're going to die someday. But this virus has sort of just presented it so much more urgently in front of us all. So maybe it's been a wake-up call for all of us, just like, especially maybe people that don't normally think about it, that, hey, any of us could get this virus, any of us could be carrying it. We're all passing through this world to the next. And so how do we invest in this life, in the best quality way we can, so that we've made the right choices and loved in the right ways, so that we're prepared for the day that we breathe our last. So I think it's just helped a lot of people to refocus on what's most important.
Thank you, Father Ernest. Well, our hour is up, which I feel like we could keep going, but we also know people's attention spans are maybe not always so long. So I think we'll just let you guys each kind of make a closing kind of remark, maybe something that you want to share with our audience before we sign off. So, Troy, let's begin with you.
I want to just, express my admiration of our community. Every day I get emails from government leaders here in our community, teachers, obviously, my fellow pastors, and I'm just and business people. I'm really admire how we've risen to this challenge, and it gives me hope knowing how this might go, that we're stepping up, and I love it, and it excites me, and I'm excited about our churches, that we're in a place that we can help. And you can tell just through this little conversation that there's some just real great hearts that are represented here. And I think this is just a smattering of a lot more that's happening in our community. So I'm super encouraged. I'm bummed, but I'm super encouraged by some things I'm seeing. Absolutely.
Thank you. Let's go to Ernest. Ernest, I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Let's just hang together. Let's just keep supporting each other. Let's just work together no matter what our religious backgrounds are. We're all in this together. That's one of the main things about this is the whole world realizes that we're united in this one area, so we have to help each other. And so let's pull together as a team and keep doing what we need to do to support each other during this time and help each other through this. I feel like it's coming to an end. I feel like dawn is starting to happen. Maybe Easter is finally starting to come. It's been an extended Lent for us, but hope is on the horizon, as Tim has been encouraging us to believe. And so let's keep our chin up, keep our eyes on the horizon, and keep going forward to become better than ever this summer. Hopefully this summer.
Thank you, Father Ernest. Joella.
If we focus on where we are, how lucky is everybody in this community to be in this community, in this place geographically, and among all of the people who live here. If we are feeling down, and we all do, it's not a bad idea to imagine, let's just say, some of the other places that we have lived, and imagine what it would be like if we were having this experience there. And I think that will help us to see that the simple act of looking out a window here in Steamboat is a blessing. There is no place I can think of like this. There are no friends and community members like we have in Steamboat. Members of churches, not members of churches. And I think if we keep that in front of us, if we keep that before our eyes and keep our role in that in front of us, we will come through it. And we have to manage the fact that we don't know when that will happen or what it will look like, but we know we will get through it. And that to hold on to hope is the best thing we can do.
Thank you, Joella. Tim, why don't you close us out? Oh, Tim, I think you're muted.
Got me now? I would just say amen to all what my colleagues just said there. That was some great stuff. And Steamboat Springs is an amazing community. Yeah, it's a beautiful place. Yeah, we have lots of fun things to do, but much more importantly, we're a community where people care about each other, and that's our strength, and that's what's going to get us through. If we can keep caring, keep picking each other up, when we need help, ask for it. We'll get down the road together. There's better days ahead, and if we care about each other and watch out for each other and share the journey together, we'll all get down that road together. So we'll get there.
Well, thank you all so much for participating. Thank you for being so real with us. And I know my heart feels a little fuller after hearing what you all have shared this morning. And we do have an amazing community. And there's now banners, Steamboat Strong, and we are strong. And we are connected. And so thank you all for joining us this morning. We'll continue to host these for as long as they're valuable, and we do have a lot of people that tune in and listen. So again, I thank the city and county for partnering with us on this. Our next one will be 10:30 on Tuesday. And I believe we'll be talking to our county and city officials and public health officials. So please be sure to send any questions you have to covid@steamboatsprings.net or to news@steamboatpilot.com. And it looks like maybe I see some blue skies out. I'm looking at Halson actually right now. I see a little bit of blue skies. So I hope everyone has a beautiful day and an even better weekend. Take care.